Good evening and welcome to Poland Daily. I'm Nicholas Richardson and this is the news. The coronavirus has claimed more lives, with the death toll having risen from 46 to 259. China's National Health Commission has announced that as of last Friday, 2,102 more people had become infected, bringing the total to 11,791. Around 24 other countries have reported a total of 137 new cases.
Foreign citizens are responding to the outbreak of the virus by leaving China. Russia has said that its aerospace defense forces, part of its armed forces, would be flying its citizens out on Saturday. Polish authorities are encouraging Poles who live in China to sign up for evacuation. According to Deputy Head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Szymon Szynkowski-Welsenk, the evacuation is already underway. The Ministry of Health said that Poles will be transported on Monday.
The disease is spreading from the Chinese city of Wuhan, and our compatriots will be evacuated from it and its surroundings. The evacuation is continuing. In the Middle Kingdom, including in Wuhan, there still remain a few Poles. They are people who have not expressed a desire to return. They are most often associated with family ties with Chinese citizens, and those citizens cannot leave the country, so their spouses decided to stay. Polish consular services are there on site. The evacuation should be completed within the next few hours.
The United States has declared a public health emergency and taken drastic steps to restrict entry into the country. President Donald Trump signed an order temporarily to bar foreign nationals other than immediate family of United States citizens and permanent residents who have travelled in China within the last 14 days.
I was entrusted by many people to bring dozens of boxes of supplies back, so I am going to bring these masks and protective items to the hospital first. There are doctors on duty here. If the passenger's body temperature is over average, we will refer them to the medical department of Huangpi district for treatment. My current state of mind is that I am not worried at all. As long as I am properly protected, I don't go to crowded places, I don't feel scared at all about my hometown or Beijing. Now my state of mind is particularly good. I will protect myself and cooperate with the management of my residential area and my company. By midnight, January 31st, 2020, the National Health Commission has received 11,799 reports of confirmed cases from each province, including Xinjiang Production and Construction Corp. The number of cases of serious conditions is 1,795. The total number of deaths is 259. The total of those killed is 243.
Americans returning from China will be allowed into the country, but will face screening at select ports of entry and be required to undertake 14 days of self-screening to ensure they don't pose a health risk. Those returning from Hubei province, the center of the outbreak, will be subject to up to 14 days mandatory quarantine. Beginning on Sunday, the U.S. will also begin funneling all flights to the U.S. from China to 7 major airports where passengers can be screened for illness. The U.S. is concerned after a report from Germany where a traveler from China had spread the virus despite showing no symptoms. Moreover, federal health authorities recognize that the test they're using to detect the virus isn't always dependable. Deputy Secretary of State Steve Biegun offered America's deepest compassion to the Chinese, noting that the deadly outbreak came during the peak of their holiday season, when everyone would ordinarily be celebrating Chinese New Year and not living in fear of contracting the virus. Biegun said the U.S. is working hard to find donors of supplies and making arrangements for a robust effort to help the Chinese people get their arms around this outbreak.
Today, the European Union is smaller than it was yesterday. At midnight on Friday, the United Kingdom became the first country ever to leave the European Union after 47 years of membership, creating one of the biggest political and economic shifts in modern European history. While some celebrated and others were despondent, Prime Minister Boris Johnson vowed to bring the country together and to take us forward.
During yesterday's formal speech, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Boris Johnson, assured the country that leaving the European Union is not the end, but the beginning of a new chapter for the United Kingdom.
8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
For many people, this is an astonishing moment of hope, a moment they thought would never come. And there are many, of course, who feel a sense of anxiety and loss. And then there's a third group, perhaps the biggest, who had started to worry that the whole political wrangle would never come to an end. I understand all those feelings, and our job as the government, my job, is to bring this country together now and take us forward. The most important thing to say tonight is that this is not an end, but a beginning.
A few thousand people celebrated the United Kingdom's leaving the European Union yesterday at midnight in Parliament Square in London.
We are now a free and independent taxes. We can make our country safe again. It's wonderful.
Superb. It's been such a long time coming, and at last we've got rid of them. I can't believe how we put up with Europe for so long as we did. All the insults they flung at us, our Prime Minister, our country, our Queen, now we're rid of them. That's it, that's what it's all about. And listen, this is England now. We got our country back.
The leader of the Brexit party, Nigel Farage, sang the United Kingdom's national anthem, God Save the Queen, with the cheering crowd.
Something that I fought for 27 years. And something that many thousands of you gave your time, love and money for. We faced an establishment that never even wanted to listen to us. An establishment that never wanted that referendum to take place.
The Brexit transition period, during which the UK will negotiate its future relationship with the EU, is due to end on December 31st this year. Nearly 1 million Poles live and work in the United Kingdom.
The Mayor of London, Sadiq Khan, has told the magazine Jewish News that the £300,000 City Hall donation to the Auschwitz Museum was motivated in part by a desire to address what he called the rewriting of history. The ambassador of Poland to the United Kingdom, Arkady Jagotsky, dismissed Sadiq Khan's claims and presented the facts about the Holocaust. Under the German occupation, Polish citizens had suffered every kind of atrocity imaginable, said the ambassador.
Ambassador Jagotsky wrote, "It is Poland's duty to remind the world of the real historical events when they are being challenged. With some of the history's worst atrocities taking place on its soil, Poland is the guardian of the memory of all those who died in such hideous crimes as the Holocaust, and let's remember that 3 million out of the 6 million Jews murdered in it were Polish citizens." The Polish ambassador also referred to the UK contribution to Auschwitz Museum. The UK government and the Mayor of London have pledged £1.3 million for the upkeep of the museum, for which I am very grateful. This will help Poland's commitment, £14 million a year, to preserve the memory of the Auschwitz victims.
Prime Minister Mateusz Morawiecki made a one-day visit to Portugal for the Friends of the Cohesion Group Summit, which is discussing the future EU budget. During the summit, the heads of government of 17 member states will prepare a joint strategy in advance of the EU budget summit. Communist-era opposition figure and one of the founders of the free trade unions, Krzysztof Witkowski, is going to take part in a demonstration in defence of Polish law, sovereignty, the constitution and judicial reform. The demonstration is organised by the Suvereni Committee and the Gazeta Polska clubs and will take place in front of the Constitutional Tribunal in Warsaw at noon on the 8th of February.
I think it is our civic duty to participate in next Saturday's manifestation in defense of Polish judicial reform. The purpose of this event is to convince people who still think that we live in the post-communist era that Poland has to fix its judicial system. This reform needs support from society. That is why we are organizing this demonstration, to convince Poles and to defend this reform from the aggression of the European Union and the opposition.
That's the news. Thank you for watching. Stay with us for the weather, Poland Daily Business and more programmes. But from me, it's have a good night and a better tomorrow.